relaxation chair. Where we are now, Helsinki has several harbors. So if you look at the map, on left-hand side, quite down you'll find a blue spot, number 35. Here in this side, it's quite in the middle, just down, you find a blue dot, number 35. That's where we are now, here in Saari Sea. And at once, I tell you, your boat is leaving at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The last shuttle bus, there are shuttle buses from the city if you want to stay in the city for a while after the tour. The last ones leave at 1 o'clock. I'll show you where they leave from, of course. But 2 o'clock the boat leaves, so our tour will be ended at by noon here at the port. So you can sort of think it over if you want to stay in the city. But look, here we see a glimpse of Helsinki already in front of us. All these areas up north, they were covered by ice still some 10,000 years ago. Then the ice started melting, and the first people we had coming here some 8,000 years ago. They came from the east and from the south, and they brought the Finno-Ugrian languages here. This is the language we speak here in Finland until today. The Finno-Ugrian languages are spoken by 35 million people in the world, and people say they come from the Urals, these languages. For instance, in Hungary, they speak this kind of languages, but, you know, for instance, I can't understand many words of Hungarian. Estonian is closer to Finnish. It's like poetic Finnish. It sounds very beautiful in our ears, but we make some quite funny mistakes every now and then where we try to speak Estonian or try to understand Estonian. There are several minorities inside Russia that speak these languages. So some 8,000 years ago, the first people came here. Then some 4,000, and you know, these people were hunters. Even the women hunted, they didn't settle down. 4,000 years ago, we had people coming in from south, and they already settled down, they built houses. But of course, they continued hunting and fishing. Some agriculture they already had. Then we had all these Stone Ages, Iron Ages, Bronze Ages, all these. And the first time in the history Finland was mentioned, it was mentioned around year 0 in some Roman documents. Then the Russians got interested in Finland, and also the Swedes. The Russians already in the 700-800s, they had the Greek Orthodox faiths, and the Swedes, they came with the Roman Catholic faith. And in 1155, the Swedes made the first so-called crusade here to Finland, and since then it was considered that Finland belonged to Sweden till 1809. So for some 650 years, almost 700 years, Finland belonged to Russia. After that, for some 100 years, till 1917, Finland belonged to Sweden. First Finland belonged to Sweden, then to Russia. For 650 years to Sweden, then for a little bit more than 100 years to Russia. 1906, today as it's a rainy day, nobody's out, nobody's very interested in shopping or selling. The big building behind the scare, in front of us on the left-hand side, this building is used to be the Technological University of Helsinki. Nowadays it's a technological school. The Technological University moved out from here in the beginning of 50s. They have a huge campus area, a very actually famous campus area, Otaniemi, because the architect of the area is Alvar Aalto, our most famous, internationally most famous architect. And its main building, the Dipoli building, it's already from the 60s, but still architects from all over the world go and see it because it's so interesting. On the left-hand side, we have a theater from the Russian time. This theater was built for the Russian troops in the 1800s. Opera used to work there, but nowadays it's just a normal theater again. And then the next building on the left-hand side is our magistrate. We used to have the Russian embassy there till the the Second World War, one of the first bombs that fell over Helsinki fell over the embassy. Now people sort of discuss still today if the bomb falling over the embassy, if it was a mistake that they aimed it at the university, or if it was that they wanted to burn the archives. Anyway, the Finns didn't lift a finger to save the embassy. After the World War, we had to build a new embassy to the Russians, but it's situated in a completely other place. This street we are at is called the Boulevard. And so they just sent these lots of food, clothing, whatever, to Stockman, and Stockman got it to them. Here in Finland, we sort of joke about Stockmans that, if somebody wants something and doesn't find it at Stockmans, then you don't need it really. Because Stockmans has, we consider, has everything. Actually, they have some financial problems now because especially young people, they tend to buy everything from internet. Also, they made some big investments abroad. They built a Stockmans in St. Petersburg and so forth. The next street here is called the Alexander Street, and here in front of the main store of Stockmans, for instance, we have the Hard Rock Cafe of Helsinki. Then two buildings here on right hand side that belong to the students in Helsinki. There are different student organizations, but these places the students got as a gift from the Finnish people in the end of 1800s to build whatever they wanted to in these places. The people wanted the students to keep away from the center of the city, the political center of the city. And now when we look at it, it's only some half a kilometer from the center of the city nowadays, the political center of the city. And it's really well situated. There's two student houses. One of them is sort of a congress place and a meeting place, which they rent a lot. And the other one belongs to the students, with of course a very profitable restaurant. Left hand side we have the forum shopping. Forum shopping is more for young people. Young people shops like H&M and Lindex and a lot of these kind of things. Look, now at this time of the year we can see, now we're in the next street, on left hand side, if you have a look there, you find a brownish orange sort of a cup there. On left hand, this car, here on left hand side, it looks like a cup, doesn't it? It's built, it's in wood. It's the Chapel of Silence. And the Chapel of Silence means that, Finnish people, they they appreciate very much the silence, the living by themselves, being by themselves. They like, of course, company, but then they always have to be for themselves a little bit. In the middle of the working day, your boss has been, mean or something like that, or your friend has said some stupid things or something. Then you want to be in silence, and then you come to the Chapel of Silence. There's never any mass there. There is nothing. You just can sit there in peace. And they ask for silence inside. It's open from 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 in the afternoon every day. In front of us now we have the railway station. And this railway station was designed by an architect called Eliel Saarinen. Eliel Saarinen later on worked in United States. His son became more famous than he himself. Eero Saarinen is responsible for the arch, the gateway in San Luis, also for the TWA building in John F. Kennedy Airport, New York. This railway station building was finished in 1919, so it was built during the Russian time. And it's built in a national romantic style. This with national romanticism in Finland. Actually, I have to say that we had two strokes of luck in our history. The first stroke of luck was that the Swedes took us in 1155 and not the Russians, because if not, we probably would be a part of Russia now. Finland wouldn't even exist. Then the second stroke of luck was that the Russians took us 1809, because if not, then probably would be part of Sweden and Finland wouldn't exist. But when the Russians took us, you can understand that all the wars Finland fought and all this with the Swedes, always against Russia in some way. So being part of Russia, even if a grand ducate of Russia, but it was something for the Finns. So the Finns got angry, and then started the national romantic time in Finland. All the 1800s, beginning of 1900s through, we went with it, and it comes in this. For instance, in architecture, you see these buildings that are built um, like medieval castles. The decoration comes from the nature, from Finnish folklore and all this. And you find this movement in everything, in architecture, in paintings, in music, in everything, all cultural life, literature, in everything you find it. Then in front of us we have the newest library in the city. This just in front of us we find this interesting looking modern building. It's going to be on right hand side in a second. It's part of a library, a university library or national library. We do have almost 900 libraries here in Finland. And people tend to take some 20 books from the libraries every year. We have buses that go to distant places, to places where people can't reach the libraries easily. Also, sometimes we have library boats that go to some small ports where people can take books from. The present, most common gift for, if you graduate or Christmas, for anniversary, whatever, is a book in Finland. So we really read a lot. And our winter makes us read even more. Of course, the winter reading is more serious. Summer reading is like detective stories and some lighter readings. But we do, as fact, read a lot. Here already we start with areas where we have a lot of buildings that belong to the university. For instance, this white building on left hand side, it is an area where we research the forests. On left hand side we have a park, where in the middle of the park there is a building. You can perhaps glimpse it a little bit here on left hand side. It belongs to the university, of course. There are glass houses there, but also this building there is in the middle of the house was to be the real palace of Helsinki, of Finland. When Finland declared itself independent in 1917, all the countries in Europe had kings and queens, so the Finns also wanted to have a king and queen. And a German prince was chosen to be the Finnish king. But the Germany